you a whole bunch of squiggly lines, you go, oh, obviously the rat's thinking left, right? Well, there's a lot of math between there and what the rat is thinking. So that was why it was originally really important, but it's been going on for a long time, 10 years or so, in probably 20 or 30 labs in different ways. In a given study, an electrophysiology, which means, just take the electrophysiology, right? So electrical signal kind of stuff, how something works that is a biological thing, physiology, so that kind of research often involves, if it's rats, maybe 4 to outside 20, more like 6 to 8 rats might make up a single study. If a study is well designed, it can show you more than one thing, but really if it's directly designed, it should definitively show you one thing. So building knowledge is the idea that you don't get to it in one simple step. And yes, rats have personalities. If you test them on different flavors of pellets, then they will show the willingness to wait longer, if you have a temporal delay, wait longer for stuff they like more, which could just be strawberry or chocolate, or some of them like the plain pellets the best. And so they'll actually show different thresholds for their decision making in terms of whether they'll wait or not. And they also have different personalities in terms of their impulsiveness or their tolerance to delay, right? So you can test whether or not they generally are willing to wait more for stuff, right? Same rewards, but this one will be more patient, let's say. Well, that's relevant to things like ADHD that has a component of impulsiveness. If you have a rat model for that, which exists, then you can have much lower thresholds for basically the decision trigger, right? So I'm not gonna wait. I'm just not gonna wait. It's not my thing, right? So they always do a certain thing. Oh, I wanna manipulate the occurrence of ADHD. Let's give them an ADHD drug and see if it changes that threshold, something like that. We just made up a study, right? So we would specifically wanna do something very well defined based on what's already known. Anyway, that's some of the answer.
Cool.
First,
Yeah,
can you
thank you.
while you're talking real quick?
Yeah,
We're
sure.
last
Yeah.
minute. You could just in
Do my hair.
last-
Somebody ask a question so I don't have to like act
How
like
do you
Yeah.
pick the lowest species possible?
Right. So I think the answer to that is partly based on the complexity of the question. So if we want to know something about how a particular brain region encodes or represents something, like where I am in this room, I know that I need to record a bunch of neurons, so the brain cells, that are involved in representing where I am in this room. Okay, so I know what that would take. And then I think about, okay, what is the kind of hardware I need to do that? Right, so I need some wires, I need some channels, I may need to buy my electrodes, or I may need to build them. Okay, if the question I want to answer is how is a single object encoded next to me in this one space, I might need a lot more neurons, so I might need a lot more channels. So practical considerations is a big part of that. If I get to the point where the data I could get out of a rat is cool, it's related, but it's just not big data enough, which is a thing that's happening. I get files, I don't know if this communicates, but that are like 30 gigs just in one file in like an hour and a half of recording, and I run lots of sessions, lots of rats, lots of groups and stuff like that. So this is an enormous amount of data that's coming out of just me. I'm just one guy in one lab, right? So, pigs, this is actually one of the massive benefits of that is you can put more stuff on their head. If you can put more stuff on their head, you can make exponentially more data, which can answer infinitely more questions, but it also requires computer scientists, which I am not. I'm a hack, I'm a decent hack, but I'm not a computer scientist. So but there's that kind of thing. It's like, oh man, I could collect this giant data set as well, and I don't know what to do with it, right? So that's not a question that I would include that in part of the answer, to say that, if I don't have, or I'm not a computer scientist, then there is some data that would be really cool to have that isn't useful in my hands. But the other part of the answer is, you said which species?
How do you choose
the lowest, right?
species?
So then, is there a history of asking those kinds of questions in that species? A lot of times, papers get published just reproducing things that have been done in other species in a new species. So with pigs that Adam is pioneering, a lot of the questions that have been asked in other species need to be re-asked, because that is a different branch of evolution than we are, for example. It's still a mammal, so it's not the furthest branch from us. There are considerations like that. Is it a medical question? Do I want to just model how this molecule is working in the stomach of a digestive system or something like that? Or do I want to know? It entirely depends on the question that you want to ask. Really. So yeah.
Let us get out your way, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Of course, anytime. So y'all can email me if you have any questions.